my name is Andrea Detente, and this is my leadership interview. So the person I decided to interview was Dr. Heather White, who is the Dean of Students in the Dean of Students office. The main reason I really wanted to interview her was because the fact that I am heavily involved in First Year Florida as a peer leader and a peer mentor. And through this involvement, I've had the opportunity to meet such amazing leaders that are both professionals and my peers. Obviously, there is a leader who is leading them to success and has had an impact on them, and I wanted to delve deeper and get to know the person who's allowed them to make an impact on me. On top of that, I also had the opportunity to hear her speak briefly at a You Matter We Care informational forum, and from that I really saw how dedicated she was and really cared about her job, and I kind of wanted to make that connection, and what better way than this. So during my interview, kind of the perception I got from her is that she is someone who's very kind, hardworking, introspective, even maybe a little bit motherly, helpful, and I greatly admired her. Prior to going into the interview, I already had a very good feeling. One thing that I really greatly appreciated was how swiftly she replied to my email when I requested the interview, and how willing to help she also was. I understand that sometimes as you get higher up in these positions, it's harder. You kind of lose touch with everything else just because the job entitles you to have so many other responsibilities as well. But she even said something she really likes about her position here as Dean of Students is the fact that she still has this connection with the students and the campus community. So the main reason I got multitasker from this, not only is she a leader of this high position in the Dean of Students, which has NSFP, and First Year Florida preview and You Matter We Care, but she was also, prior to my meeting, she was coming from a different one, and she was a little frazzled, I think, just because she was running late. But when we sat down to talk, she was able to just clear her head and focus on the questions I was asking and giving me very amazing answers. So that definitely shone through, and I can only imagine that she's able to do that with everything she does in her job. Another thing that I gathered, I said that I saw her as being someone who's very motherly, mainly because when I sat down in the office, I had a vantage point of her bookshelf, and I saw pictures of two girls, which she later clarified were her children. And I just think that's kind of amazing, She's able to balance this kind of work life where she has all these responsibilities that she has to take care of, but she's also balancing mom life and being able to be there for her family. And so I guess those kind of motherly qualities also shown through just because it's a part of who she is. And I just very much admired her. Prior to the interview, I had seen the Women in Leadership lectures, and those lectures kind of put into perspective the fact that women have hard times getting into positions of leadership, and the fact that she was able to do that and is doing so much is really admirable to me, I think. So a couple of the characteristics that we talked about during our interview was the fact that, a leader should be humble, should be authentic, supportive. She also mentioned be kind and to set an example while striving for excellence, as she put it. So one of the main theories that we've talked about in class that she actually pointed out that she really likes is the idea of servant leadership, the fact that you put others before yourself. And I could very much see that in everything what she kind of talked about and what she did in her job, just because of the fact that she really cares about what others are thinking and how they're feeling, which I think is very important and makes for a very conducive kind of work environment. And the things that kind of stood out to me from servant leadership out of the 10 characteristics that are mentioned is listening, awareness, and conceptualization. As I mentioned, she clearly very much cares about what others are thinking and want to say, and she even said herself, feedback is love. And she wants to surround herself with people who will give it to you straight. They'll tell you when something's right, but they'll also tell you when something's wrong because they care about you growing and succeeding. And that actually kind of ties into the idea of having a supportive style of leadership, because she does care about this leadership, and it's this feedback for leadership, and it's kind of a two-way street. You know, she wants them to tell her, but she will also be straight with them. And then so back to awareness. She's very aware of kind of everything she's doing and what others are doing. She has a very great self-awareness. She mentioned that at the end of every day, she kind of has a self-reflection moment of where she looks at, what did I do right, what did I do wrong, and what can I improve on. And I think that's really important to kind of realize is where your strengths and weaknesses are, because that way you can grow as a person and as a leader, because you're not dwelling on the things that aren't helping you, and so you're gonna move forward at the end. And then lastly, conceptualization. She also mentioned at one point how when you're working towards something, you have to begin with the end in mind. You know where you want to be, so how are you going to get there, and how are you going to work to get there? And that kind of rang true for me, because my that's something that she's always said, and right now that I'm in college too, she's like, okay, you want to graduate and have a job, okay, so how are you going to get there? What are you going to do to get there? So that kind of really resonated with me in that sense. Another thing I mentioned that we talked about was having humility, a leader being humble. I think that's so important, because you have to have this kind of authentic communication with everyone. To be able to do what a leader does, you have to, have those who are around you, helping you, the followers, kind of helping guide the common goal you all have to reach it. So following my interview, I still kind of had the same perceptions about her, that she's someone who's super nice, caring, hardworking, and admirable. I think, how much I admire her even increased after. She genuinely cares about the others in the campus community and the students in it, which I think is amazing. And as I said, the amount I admire her actually grew so much, because she mentioned she actually came from a different position prior to obtaining this one. She was the director in the CRC, which granted you still work with students, but it's like a different level. I feel that almost as a dean of students, it's a little bit more administrative. And she even joked that a lot of these positions kind of pursued her. And had you asked her a while back, do you ever see yourself in a position like this? She would have said no. And yet, here she is making the best of it. So I thought that was super admirable and great. And like I said, she's a woman in a position of leadership. That's so amazing. What more can you ask for? And so lastly, a couple of things that stood out to me from my interview with her was two things specifically. One is that a leader has to have the courage to do the best thing. Sometimes the best thing is not gonna be easy, but you have to get through it. You have to do these hard things in order for the organization to move forward and be successful. And to me, that kind of tied back to something she mentioned about a leader being authentic. You have to have authenticity, because you're able to develop trust with, the followers and the people around you. If you're authentic with what you're doing, they'll see that, when you do the best thing, whether it's easy or hard, you're doing it because you care about this position and the organization and the goal you're trying to reach. And they trust you that, you're not just going to do something to do it. You're doing it because it has to be done. And I think that's a very important quality in any leader. And then the second thing that she really said that stuck out to me was that you have to stay true to your values. I think that's so important, because your values kind of determine who you are as a person. She even said right here that you have to be who you are and work to be who you want to be. And so to be an effective leader, you have to do that. You shouldn't sacrifice who you are for the job. It's again authenticity. So this was my leadership interview. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you so much for an amazing semester. Bye.